because I wanted to give you an update on energies and just crystallize the idea of what the wave that's currently in the smack in the middle of the Schumann chart, what the meaning of that is, in my view, what it represents. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, I wanted to talk about keep praying. And what I wanted to talk about is what the energies are, how they're going to be rolling out over the next couple of months in particular, and in the near term, related to this attack that occurred in the Middle East. And now we have all this posturing going on. And so first, the wave on the Schumann chart that almost looks like a curtain with faces poking through in the middle. I want to show you. Oh, here we go. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link to the archive chart in, here it is. Okay, here's the archive. Okay, so that is the chart with 3 waves. 3 waves. Okay. All right. So a lot of people are talking about how the 3rd wave seems really unusual because it's basically it's the first part of it, of that wave of energy, is essentially doubled and then mirrored, meaning kind of flipped, right? So this is a process of showing energy on the chart that I've used for years. And to see it occur on the chart naturally was just amazing. And yesterday I did a live stream where I went into detail about how, in my view, the formation of that occurs, both from within the human energy system and the building of energies that occurred up to this wave in the current chart. So for super in-depth detail, I'll put the link to that as well. But essentially, when a full image shows and the image is in obvious halves, okay, so you got clear there's 2 halves to it. And as as Coyote tweeted, responded to me on Twitter, it looked like there were monsters peeking out. That was awesome. He said the Cookie Monster, so maybe it could be fun monsters too. But what I said in my last video is that, in my view, when the wholeness of the image presents, it means that, looking at the Schumann as a map of human consciousness, it means that we're ready to see the whole picture. And we're ready to look at the density, right? The deep, dark images that are often hidden in half, when only half of a wave appears. And sure enough, the monster showed in the center of the wave, because it almost looks like a curtain with 2 like monsters, like on each side, peering out at us. And it's up to you to determine what those really might mean for you. It was fascinating because I put out I adjust the light and the color to pop the phenomena, and I put some of those out on my X thread. And someone, Gorkum from Turkey, took them and she made it into an amazing image. Like, all she just did a little more darkening and color adjusting. And she said, this looks like the face of a centaur, which I thought was phenomenal, because a centaur represents wild primal energies. And with the energy that's presenting in the world to us, like in the media right now. And so for future reference, on October 18th of 2023, what's presenting is, Russia's moved its ships into place and the US has its ships in place. And there was that initial attack in Israel, and there's been fighting the terrorists since then. And so again, right? So we wake up this morning and there's new threats of World War III. So in my last couple of videos, I've discussed how these are offers to humanity, because the power of creation is within the divine substance within each of us. And when we commit that towards that creation, it contributes. And when we withdraw from the polarities, either side of it, when we withdraw our energy and take it back unto us, you take your own energy back unto yourself and then create as you're guided, right? Create in alignment with God's will for you, create in alignment with, what how your soul guides you. Then you become energetically sovereign and independent of the collective. And so on my videos about 9/11, where I talked about my personal experiences, I have a couple of those videos since the summer of 2023. And I talked about how I saw that event in a dream, although I didn't know it was that event. I knew that chunks of concrete were falling off buildings in New York, and I thought, like, I don't want to be in that. And I made a conscious decision to withdraw my energy from that group creation. Okay. So what happened? I quit my job and I stopped going to New York City. Like I even left the industry so that I wouldn't be exposed to that group creation. Well, back in 2001, the energies were a lot denser, right? So it was really like, you're on your own in this like becoming sovereign thing. But what these war offers do is they give us the opportunity to they give us the opportunity to bring up our awareness and then to practice what we truly wish to create in the face of it. And so our fears over that are what's in between the curtain of energy on the Schumann, the monsters peering out. Maybe we've wrestled our fears and we've made a decision, and now the fear is like a cookie monster, right? It's like it's just like oh yeah, why was I afraid of that? Why was I hesitant over that? Like I know within my heart what I want to do now, right? I'm guided. I feel confident and strong. So, it's just a cookie monster. But maybe someone else might see it as, a scary monster because they're still wrestling in attachment with anger and fear over the events at play and deep emotional courting and involvement and crystallized thought patterns, which I described in detail in my last video. Some people in the middle of the curtain will see the centaur, the image that Gorkum, discovered, that she brought forward. And, it's really fascinating because when you're doing the adjusting, and there's no adjusting of the data, like what the outline of the image is. Earthquake detection. Oops, hold on one sec. All right, well, there's no earthquake in my area, but I did have to just check, what was going on. So just give me a minute. If it's not like a 6.0, don't text me, okay? Just, Well, all right. Well, apparently some people felt an earthquake, but there's nothing here. So anyway, sorry. Sorry to leave you like hanging like that. Okay, so let me just get settled here. Oh my God, we're back. All right, so I'm just gonna center. Okay. All right, so this is what we're going to talk about the Schumann and the energy in a second. Just give me 1 second because I got to recenter. Okay, so this is what I talk about in my meditations, right? You're faced with something highly, highly stressful. And first thing that I do is connect with my soul within. Number 1, connect with the center of the earth. Number 2, the God force within the planet. And so then my body can still be stressed, right? My body can be stressed, but within me, I can be peaceful, right? Because I'm peaceful within the God connection. Because if you're going to send me an earthquake alert over a 4.6 in California, nobody cares, okay? Nobody cares. Don't do that. And what that is an offer to create. Okay, so we're going to nail this right now because it's an offer to create out of negative energy, which I literally described in detail on my live stream yesterday. Okay, so everyone in California is then offered, unless there was a 6 or 7, like, that then it matters. Okay, but if it's like if it's not that, all the buildings are built here to withstand strong earthquakes. So, and I'm not willing to create that. So therefore, I'm gonna have peace in my heart, and I'm gonna connect with the earth in peaceful fashion, and I'm gonna pour out love into my own field for me, for my home, right? So, I'm not because if there's forces that wish for something to be created, just there's natural forces, okay? Earth has earthquakes. There's earthquake technology, right, as well. I mean, it's a fact that, for example, Nikola Tesla, when he was doing his experiments on Long Island, he would cause earthquakes. So that stuff is real. When you get beyond the God force, like an earthquake happening naturally in California, like the actual earth caused it, which to me is also, right, the God force created the planet. So that's in the realm of, they even call it, God, what do they call it in contracts? It's like acts of God. I think it's called acts of God. In contracts, they literally define it as acts of God. Okay. These guys have stuff nailed down. So if in the big financial contracts, they basically there's no response if it's an act of God, there's no responsibility on the side of the one party or the other. And I'm not a lawyer, so I didn't explain that exactly. But what I'm trying to say is acts of God are actually recognized by our law and contracts. So it's real. And but when it comes to earthquake technology or something else caused by humans or whoever it's caused by, that requires the agreement of the human population, actually. And so to put out alerts, right? Unless there's an actual disaster, and the constant trying to drum up in California of the earthquake fear, and I'm not saying that that's not real, that it is, okay? I lived in, my first apartment in a house when I first moved to San Francisco. I lived in San Francisco for many years. I lived in a house that had been through the 1908 earthquake and was standing still. Okay, so that's real. But I've noticed in the news, on social media, there's all this trying to drum up of, you know, of earthquake fears over 3s and 4s, and what is that? It's trying to get people to create it in their energy and to create something larger, and I do not consent to that. I withdraw from that create group creation that's being suggested, and it's not even a group creation unless, the human population can be, um, tricked into doing it. Okay, so let's get back. This is perfect actually for, it's perfect for the energetic discussion. I was gonna talk about the centaurs, in the center of the current wave on the chart. So here's the thing about the centaur. What happens is that when we are being in the media faced with this world war fears, right? Oh my God, now Russia they just said we're not making a threat. We're just letting you know that this war material is right here and we could use it basically. And then the US is there, right? I don't consent to that, right? I didn't come here for a world war. I came here to like the new age. Like, let's do this, right? But unfortunately, on the way to the new age, we uncover all the crap that's been in our subconscious for the decades that we've been alive. And healing that is what heals the world. And when we're faced with a primal, the potential for primal, to act in a primal fashion, that's when we can really be spurred to just completely go on like, where are my instincts related to fear and anger? right? And so it was fascinating to me that one of my followers on X, you know, that centaur image just popped out for her because it's a reflection of part of the invitation. Now, part of the other part of the invitation could be towards the wildness of life and the unpredictability of life, and in the positive, the amazing way that events can be turned towards surprising and miraculous outcomes. And we could actually hold that in our imagination or in our creation desire, right? So now I want to talk about the astrology that complements this, and I'm going to refer to my Substack article, and it's called "We Can Handle the Energy of This Moment." And in saying that, I'm not suggesting that you try to box in or manage a primal force, right? Because that is impossible. When a primal energy moves through you, having had this happen recently on September 7th for me in Arizona, 'cause that's that's how I survived, right? I went with the primal force, and the God force showed me what to do energetically to release the energy that my body had, the dislocation that was going on because of being in like this close to heat stroke, right? So so I was shown how to do that, and in this case, what I was shown was that I needed to keep my throat open. It's fascinating, and one day I'll talk to, like, a doctor or scientist who can explain it to me, but what I was shown, my spiritual guides were showing me that there was an electrical connection that happens, like, when the throat closes, right? And it's kind of between the brain and the core of the body, and that someone was constantly trying to talk to me when this was happening. It was a very interesting event, and I could no longer respond because what they were showing me is that if I allowed my throat to keep closing like this in talking, that it would create an electrical connection that would, that if I quit making that electrical connection and fully kept my throat open, that I would be okay. So I thought, well, the only way I could keep my throat open is to scream. So I just started screaming with this, like, I mean, but it was like more than like a scream, like if you see a spider or something. It was literally like from the core of my being. It was incredible. And there's a story that goes along with it because I connected with some of the ancient energies. That's going to be a different video. I want to tell you the story of what happened in Arizona eons ago. And so I went with that primal force, and it kept me alive, and I survived, and it was awesome, and it's a very powerful scream when feeling when you're embodying, like, to scream, like, at that level, it was incredible. Yeah, so okay, so now here we go, right? Here is what I said in the newsletter. Here's the timing of the next few weeks, and the war energy is gonna keep being presented to us, the war offers, and that's why I wanted to share this with you. And so it's not just the next few weeks, over the next year, we're in a very intense time. But if we have some information about it, it allows us to bring mental awareness and then develop within the self, how am I gonna handle this energy? Okay? Right? And I just wanna look, I'm gonna pat myself on the back. Do you see how quickly I got recentered, right? After the emergency earthquake alert that interrupted the live stream. What did I do? So we can I connect with, family members. We get everything ready. That took me literally 1 minute to prepare what I needed to prepare if there was actually gonna be an earthquake. Waited 30 seconds, nothing's happening, checked social media, people have already felt it, and now it's moved on, the energy passed. So really those kind of alerts don't really help. In the moment, if you're in an earthquake, you're in an earthquake. They would only help if they came ahead of time. So for that, I guess we'd need an earthquake alert from Dutch Sins or that group on, YouTube that does amazing work. I think it's SSGEOS. Yeah, they have some fascinating work that they do. Okay, so here is what the astrology is over the next um, few days and weeks. So I had mentioned that I had described Pluto as the arrow pulling back. And what it did was it pulled back to fixed star Terabellum. And it's right now at the closest that it will get for the next 240 years. We're in that period. And then I also described that when Mars touches this energy of Terabellum and especially with Pluto at that area, then it becomes impetuous power grabs, essentially distilling the meaning of that star that the ancients gave us. Okay. So Pluto is at this degree for the next 2 days. Okay. This degree in minute. Now it starts to move forward again, excuse me, on October 20th. And so Pluto is in the process of having been retrograde and then moving forward. So right now, technically, it's moving forward, but it hasn't actually advanced. It moves forward 1 minute on October 20th. Right. So let me just check, let me just check this. Yeah, when it moves forward on October 20th, West Coast time in the USA. All right. So today, that's why today, the 18th, we're getting all this, okay, Russia and the US. I already went over that. And the Middle East. Okay. That's why we're getting this today, the October 18th. And tomorrow we'll keep getting it October 19th. And that's why I'm saying keep praying, keep centered, keep considering what is being offered to you. And my what I'm doing is I'm bringing consciousness to the creation, right? Think about an earthquake could happen in California. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to think about the land being peaceful here. I'm going to imagine that all as well. I'm going to pray on it too. I'm going to talk to God. I'm going to ultimately give it to God, but I'm going to say that's not what I desire, right? God, this is what I choose to create. I choose to create a wonderful, happy life that's centered, that's abundant, that doesn't involve that kind of disaster, and then I give it to God. If it's in the highest good, what will happen, and what is not in the highest good will not. But because we have free will, right, we are allowed to make creations, and there are forces that understand this. So what I was going to do is I was going to bring up this chart because I want to find out when during the day on October. I don't think it's the end of the day. I think it's the beginning of the day, October 20th. I have all this stuff. Moves direct. Here it is. It is nope. It is it's Pluto moves direct on October 20th at 6:46 Pacific time. So the intensity of this war energy is going to continue until for the direct movement, and it'll continue after that. But this is where it's going to be the most intense. Why? Because for those attempting to create negative spells, you want to put that spell in with the forward energy, would be my guess. So anyway, so again, all we need to do as a living human population connected with our living soul, right? The spark of the essence of God that we are alive in human form, you know, it doesn't matter what anyone else's plans are. What matters is between you and the creator, between you and God, between you and the creator, between you and your own soul, right? But between you and the divinity that you are. So then, um, so let me just finish with this. So Pluto is going to move to 28 degrees in November. Now let me just see here. I have it somewhere in this article where when is it moving to 28 degrees? It's moving to 28 degrees. Let's see. Here we go. November 1st to December 19th. So it's going to be at the Mars exaltation point. So we're going to have the Mars influence even stronger again, because it'll be exact from November 1st to December 19th. Then starting on November 16th, Pluto moves so that it's a full 2 degrees out of orb of Terabellum. So you see what's happening is that the aspects of power and self-interested tyranny can begin to wane, right? But it's like what happens in California. We keep getting the offer, like all the parents come together and defeat legislation, and then the legislators go, instead of withdrawing it and canceling it, ending it, and never bringing it up again, they go, "Oh, well, we'll just table that, so we can bring it up in 6 months when, another 20,000 of you have left the state." So this is near-term information I'm giving you, but this is a long haul, right? This is a long haul because we're talking about Pluto, about to enter Aquarius. That's gonna be a couple years. The most intense year looks like it's 2024 because at the end of next year, 2024, Pluto will be at 29 degrees, and that's where all the karma comes. That's where, whatever is really gonna fall is gonna fall, right? As we move into the new age. And here's the thing, um, when you're changing your life, when you're changing your life, it's not only all unicorns and fairies and flowers and sunshine. At least in my experience, to actually live differently, I've had to look at the darkness